Culinary Arts with Miss Sakura. Oh, I love your
Bosco.
background.
Thank you.
Check you
Thank
out.
you. Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Should we jump right into it?
I think we should.
Let's jump right into it. Miss Sakura, can you please tell me a little bit about the Culinary Arts program?
The Culinary Arts, well, thank you, Ms. Fusco, for the beautiful segue. So the Culinary Arts program is a 2-year program, starts in the junior year, and we start off with the basics, safety sanitation, how to use equipment, measuring, knife skills, and then we move on to a little bit more complicated cooking techniques and working with proteins and different grains. And then in the senior year, we really kind of hit hard on the things that we learned in the first year, and we delve into more advanced preparations and doing plated entrees, plated first course dishes, some desserts, and we do focus a few weeks of the senior year on fish and shellfish.
Oh, it's probably a really good unit.
Super fun. Super fun.
So
Yeah.
when you get to do these projects, do the students kind of work individually? Do they work as a team? How does that work in your class?
That's a great question. So a lot of times when we're working in the junior year, it's a lot of independent work, just for skill building.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you can't work with a partner when you're trying to learn how to use a knife. So a lot of the skills that we're working on in the first half, at least, of the junior year is generally going to be independent work. As we're moving into more complicated recipes, if the techniques are getting difficult or if it's time-consuming projects, sometimes we will work in teams or in partnerships. But for the most part, the junior year is mostly independent work. Now, and when we get into the senior year, because we are doing a lot more advanced preparations, and like, for example, we do a lot of entree plates. So when you're plating an entree, there's generally a protein, some kind of starch, a vegetable, and then a sauce. So there's 4 components, and that takes a lot of time to prepare each of those components. So a lot of times we will work in teams, and that kind of carries over into real world work, because someone in a restaurant is not able to prepare all of those 4 components for a dish when the customer is waiting. It would take too long. So generally when you're working in a restaurant, you're working in a team atmosphere, and we really find that skill to be very, very important in the senior year. We do a lot of quantity cooking. Last year, before COVID, we did a lot of quantity cooking that was donated to a food bank. Actually, it was a homeless shelter, excuse me, that so my students had to do, each of them would have to do components of dishes so that we had it ready at the end of class. So as far as teamwork is concerned, that's one of the most important skills that I feel, and employers are looking for, that students can work as a team and they can manage themselves independently, but their independent work is helping a team. And that's one of the most important things that I hear from employers, is that we're really looking for students to be able to work as a team and grow with other people in their group or in their area.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of employers, this is a perfect segue, Sephora.
Oh, thank you.
What is the job market for students that want to get into the culinary world after taking your class?
Well, one of the best things about our class is that everybody eats, and lots of people like to go out to eat. And some people exclusively dine out, so or take out. So even though it is COVID, employers are still looking for people to come and work. They still need kitchen staff. They still need people answering phones and customer service in the food service industry. So it's a great market. A lot of my students, even halfway through their junior year, have enough skills that they can go out and become employable. Whereas someone else who's 16 years old, who has no experience, they may get a job over somebody else who has no experience. So it's great. We have a lot of employers who reach out to us and are specifically looking for, hey, do you have a student who might be interested in working in the pantry section and they live in Hamburg or they live in West Seneca? So we have a lot of people who reach out to us and look for our students specifically for their businesses, which is really nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's been a common thread from our teachers is either there is a mass amount of vacancies that people are looking to fill with our students because they have the skill, or that the industry that they're going into will never die or will always have a body of work that needs to be filled, which is awesome.
Right.
It's a great way to spend some of your time in high school to guarantee a job afterwards. So it's a neat opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For anyone that wants to put going off into the career world for a little while, like I did, what are college opportunities through your class?
So we are very lucky to have articulation agreements with the local colleges. So Niagara Falls Culinary Institute and ECC, Alfred, all of their culinary programs offer articulation agreements with our students. So what that means is when they complete their 2-year program with me at Potter or at Harkness or Kenton, they will give them college credit that they waive. So the students will be able to skip a couple of classes, which saves them time. It saves them money. They're able to get their degree in a faster amount of time. And it's a really huge benefit in so many different ways. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that we have that for our programs.
Right.
So this is like an on topic but off topic question. Do you get to like dive into the trends that happen in the food world in your class?
We do, and it's a really fun thing. And one of the things that we do in our senior year is I kind of let the students drive the bus per se. So the students are really, like I said, in the beginning of the year, we talk about some of the things that we want to do and some of the things that they want to focus on. Sometimes I have students that are really interested in baking. So we'll throw a couple extra weeks of baking in, or I can kind of separate the class out where some of the students are working on a baking project and then the rest of the class can be doing something else. So we have a lot of freedom, and things that are trending is one of the things that we try to touch on. And it's really cool because we all watch YouTube and TikTok and we see all of these videos of people like, what are they doing on all of this social media? So we can replicate those things in class. And I also like to talk to my students about not only that things are trending, but we want to talk about things like sustainability, because these are really important topics for employers. And when employers know that my students understand the coming trends, so like sustainability is a trend, green eating is a trend. People who are eating a little bit healthier, grains are really trendy right now. So different types of grains like quinoa, which that is, but we get to sample these things and they kind of understand what it's like. So we try to get all of this stuff out to the students so that they have a little bit of background so they know what they're going into.
Yeah, it goes way beyond like rainbow bagels.
Oh yeah. Is that a trend right now? Rainbow bagels?
No. I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Now, was
Like
there a couple
donuts.
questions? Was there a couple questions in the chat?
There are a couple questions, and they're really good questions. Do you want them both?
Yes, sure. Hit me.
The first one, what do most people struggle with in culinary arts? And then here's the second one, which I'm really excited about. Good job, Caden. Who inspired you to do culinary arts?
Oh, that's a great question. So who inspired me? So my whole family they cook. Everybody in my family is a cook. My uncle is a butcher. My two of my aunts run food service for colleges. My grandma had 8 children, so she cooked every day, all day, like pretty much. So um, a lot of my family, their careers are in food service. So it just felt right. My father was a teacher, and I coached for a little while after I graduated from high school. So I coached girls lacrosse and I coached swimming. So after I did that, and I really enjoyed cooking, I went to culinary school and I kind of melded those two professions together. And here I am today. And I absolutely love working with students who are passionate about food and love eating food. And I love eating food and I love talking about food and I love playing with things and trying new things. So it's a lot of fun. It really is. And I'm also inspired by students. So like I said, a lot of times when I say to the students, like, hey, what do you really want to do? Like, what are you interested in? And they bring something up and I'm like, ooh, that sounds like fun. Let's research it together. Like, let's try something out together. So it really is, it's inspiring in both levels.
Yeah.
What was the other question?
What do most people struggle with in culinary arts?
A lot of students struggle with the fact that they don't realize how much work it is. And I think that a lot of people think that this is home and careers class, or it's like a glorified lunch where we're going to make cookies every day. And it's kind of like, yay.
Someone else does the dishes.
Right. And it's really not like that. And I think students sometimes get the wrong idea of what we do. And we're really based, our whole purpose of our program is to get students ready to go to work. So for example, right now, my seniors are working on, because it's Christmas time, we're making cookies. And we don't usually bake cookies because that's not really what we do. We're not really bakers, but we're working on large quantity baking because we're making thank you gifts for all of the custodial staff and the office staff and our service staff in our building. So we're not that this is a requirement, but this is something that we like to do to just say thank you for all the hard work that the folks in our building do for us. So they get confused. They're like, well, wait a minute, why am I not taking all these cookies home? And it's like, well, it's not for you. And this is how it is in the workplace. Like, you don't make all of this food and then pack it up and take it home. So, the bell was about to ring today and the students still had some work to do. And they were kind of like, oh, it's time to go. It's time to go. And I'm like, guys, when your shift is over at the restaurant, you're only scheduled till 4, but the stuff isn't done. You have to stay. Like that's the way that's
till 4.
Correct. Sometimes you only get paid till 4. And if the work's not done, you have to stay and do the work. But I don't know if that answered the question, but I do know that a lot of students, like once they get into it, they're like, wow, this is really a lot of work. And it's taxing on your body. And, you stand, you walk, you have to carry heavy things, you have to move around. It's not, like I said, this isn't home and careers where you have 4 ingredients and you throw them in a bowl and then you're done for the day. We're really, things are on a schedule. We have to really use time management. Students definitely struggle with time management. It's not like something that can wait until tomorrow to finish. If I was changing the oil in my car and I didn't get it done, I guess I wouldn't be able to drive that day. But, if I'm halfway done making a batch of cookie dough, or if I'm halfway done making a soup, I can't stop and start again tomorrow. It would have to go in the garbage and we'd have to start fresh. So these are some of the things that the students definitely kind of like a misnomer, like they don't really understand that aspect.
But they'll learn it along the way as well.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that we kind of, this is what it would be like at work. You would be able to do this at work, or you would not be able to do this at work, or this is how it would be in the real world.
Right.
We say.
Right. And it should be said that the image behind you is your kitchen.
It is, correct. That is our kitchen.
So what is some of the equipment that you guys use that students might not have at home? Like that's pretty fun.
I think everything. Pretty much everything. So we're very, very lucky that we have some of the best best equipment. We have a huge kitchen. It is spotlessly clean, which is why we're making thank you gifts for our custodians, because they do a fantastic job. And they also keep our equipment running smoothly. It's always working in tip-top shape. We're very lucky to have the amount of equipment that we have. We have lots of really large ranges, like you can see behind me. These aren't ranges you would see in your house. They're 6-burner ranges, gas, and they have large gas ovens underneath. We also have convection ovens or double-decker ovens. We have deep fryers. We have huge industrial mixers. We're, like I said, we're really, really lucky to be able to have students get an opportunity to work with this equipment, because this is what they would actually be working on if they were in the real world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a straight up industrial or commercial kitchen.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh man, another great question. What is the best meal that you have created?
Well, Kaden, thanks for asking. My husband's birthday was over the weekend, and I went to Restaurant Depot, and I'd like to go there. It's for commercial kitchens. It's not a public place, but they have all different kinds of food and food products. So I was kind of bebopping around in there, and they had some oysters. So I made oysters over the weekend, and we had some steak, and let's see, what else did we make? This is just this weekend. Mrs. Sikora doesn't cook like this all the time, just so you know.
I was going to say, Mr. Sikora had a lovely birthday dinner.
He did. Yeah, so steak and blue cheese, mashed cauliflower, because we're trying to keep it light, on the lighter side.
You know, throw some blue cheese in there.
Right, so you got to throw a little blue cheese in there. So, but Kaden, I really like Asian food. We made pot stickers a couple weeks ago. We were talking about pork, and we made some pot stickers. Those are one of my favorite little snacky bits, and my students really like making those. We're making pierogies tomorrow with the seniors. Yes, so, yes.
That sounds amazing.
So, yeah.
Another question for people that might be wondering, what if you are a student with a food allergy?
That's a good question. So usually by the time that you're in high school, junior and senior in high school, we're kind of hoping that students can manage their own allergy situations. If it's something that is a eating only allergy, like if you eat it and you can't tolerate it, usually that's pretty much okay. Like I said, because students are old enough to kind of monitor that themselves.
Yeah.
We can't guarantee that things don't get contaminated as far as allergies are concerned. If you're a person that's somebody that's really, really allergic to a food, I might want to say like, this might not be the class for you. But if it's something like I said, if it's a you eat it allergy, you should be pretty much okay.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
There's one thing we didn't talk about last week when we met that I feel like we certainly should have talked about, and that would be the garden outside of your classroom.
Correct. Yes,
mm-hmm.
We do.
Do you plant?
No, I actually don't plant it, but there's another class in our school that they plant vegetables in the garden, and it's awesome because it's a great lesson for my students. Again, going back to what we talked about trending wise, employers and restaurant owners, business people are really into utilizing food that is in season and is local. So one of the best things is we had eggplant growing, and a lot of students have never had eggplant before. And eggplant is locally harvested in the beginning of the school year. So there's lots of eggplant around in September. And that's one of the things that I like to do in the beginning of the school year is we actually pick the eggplant from our garden, and then we make a bunch of dishes with it. And like I said, a lot of students are like, ew, eggplant, it looks gross. Well, it's a vegetable, which we know sometimes we don't want to try vegetables because sometimes they're not the best, but if we learn how to season and how to prepare them in a proper way, Sometimes something that you've had before and you're like, ew, that's gross, now is really delicious, and it's something that students could try and prepare on their own.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be there for the eggplant lesson at the beginning of this year, and you could see the kids trying all of the food, and they were like, "Huh, this is pretty good," and
Right,
they didn't know what an eggplant even looked like. So I
right.
guess that's a nice segue into like being open minded, right? That's part of what comes with your class.
Right. And going back to the other thing that students sometimes struggle with that as well, is that they are nervous to try new foods and they're skeptical. But one of the things that I tell students is that being open to trying foods is a really important part of their class, and to be positive. So maybe it's not your favorite thing. So maybe eggplant isn't your favorite vegetable, but at least you gave it a shot and you know how to prepare it. You know what it tastes like. You would be able to prepare it if you were asked in your job. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that's really important, is that even if you're a vegetarian and you work at McDonald's, you still have to cook a Big Mac.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you want to be in the culinary field, but you refuse to eat or prepare food, it's not going to end well for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the things, like, students who do really well in my class are very outgoing. They're very positive. They're willing to take some chances, willing to try new things. Those are the students that do really, really well and go on to get really good jobs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Right.
that's part of it. Like you said, you know, having a cosmetology background, if I hate short haircuts, I still have to do them.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. I'm glad you made that point. Um, so another question I have though is, in an ideal year, where we're not all locked inside, what kind of field trips and guest speakers do you get to talk to?
Oh, that's fantastic. So usually what we do is, because our junior year is so busy, we're very, very busy. Everything is very packed in, especially this year because I only see my students a couple times a day or a couple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we don't really get an opportunity to go anywhere. Usually we do a senior year field trip that Delaware North sponsors, and we go visit the Key Bank Center and we spend the day there. The chefs do demonstrations for us. They talk to us about corporate job opportunities that they offer. They give us a background tour of the Key Bank Center, which is really cool. They show us all the different kinds of concessions that they have and all the new ideas that they're working on behind the scenes. Unfortunately, we can't do that this year, but we have been working. I have been working with the head chef from the Key Bank Center, and he's been doing some demonstrations for us so that I can kind of push that out to my students. So they still get a little bit of that experience. He's a fantastic guy, and he has a lot of passion for cooking, and he really likes working with our students. So it's really a great opportunity.
For sure. And he is super cool.
He is cool, right?
Yeah, he's super cool. So obviously people love food. Everybody likes food. Everyone has to eat food in some way. Um, but I feel like being on the preparing end can get pretty competitive. Like when you're working or looking for jobs. So what would you recommend to a student that's going out into the job market to stand out? How would you tell them to stand out among a bunch of people applying for a culinary job?
I think people who are motivated, who are really passionate about food, who are they have a good work ethic, those students or even adults will get jobs over someone who is a really good cook. And I know that sounds like the opposite of what it should be, but people can learn techniques. They can learn a menu. They can learn how to put flavors together. But if they are miserable, don't come to work on time, they're not motivated, they're not a team player, um, and they don't really care about their job, or if they just have a bad attitude in general, Those are people who are not going to get hired. And employers, especially people who've been in the food industry, they can smell that a million miles away. So that the first minute that you meet with someone in an interview, or even if you just go to a restaurant to fill out an application, people can kind of sense that right away. Like you have a smile on your face and you're really excited to be there. All of those things are kind of displayed in your body language, and people pick up on that in no time. Like I said, one of the things that Chef Steve from Delaware North, he wants to hit on all the time. He explains it to my students. He said, I can teach you how to cook, but I can't teach you how to be a good employee. So being a good team member, all of those things, it's really, really important. Having passion for what you're doing, being really interested in what's going on in the business, all of those things will help you get hired.
For sure. For sure. And I like that, there is an element of like food that you're never going to stop learning. There's always going to be something new. So being a good employee should come first.
Correct.
We're winding down. We're not completely done yet, but we're winding down. So if anyone has any more questions, feel free put them in the chat. But my one last question before I do my spiel about enrollment would be, do students need to bring anything? If they enroll in your class, what do they need to bring to class?
We ask the students to purchase a uniform, so a chef coat and a hat, they're fairly inexpensive. You could probably get a whole uniform for under $50. We just ask that students, wear sneakers or some kind of work shoe. But other than that, they don't need to have knives or any kind of measuring tools or any special equipment, just a uniform. So the uniform is a requirement that we ask. As far as it's a safety situation, it's also a sanitation situation that everybody's having a uniform. It doesn't really matter that everybody is dressed the same. That's not really the point. It's more for student safety.
So you have another question. What do students struggle with while cooking?
While cooking, I think, like I said earlier, I think it's the time management piece. I think when people are cooking at home, it's kind of like, I can get it done whenever I want. But when we're in class, obviously we can't stop in the middle of a project and work on it the following day. So some things we have to start and finish in the same class period. A lot of times if students are not paying attention, or if they didn't watch a demonstration and they don't know what to do, they make a mistake, they have to start over, or things like that. But I think the time management piece is tough, because a lot of people cook at home and it's kind of, there's no real time constraint. But other than that, I think the cooking wise is pretty good as far as like learning new techniques. No, there's no Gordon Ramsay screaming over anyone's shoulder that they're doing something wrong. So it's, if we see someone struggling, we don't want to just let them stand there. We'll help them along, and other students usually step in and like, hey, you're doing that wrong, or this is the next step, or hang on, you skipped a step. Usually students will work together and help each other, or if somebody's falling behind and they don't have their ingredients set up for a recipe, somebody will hop in and help out.
Yeah, you really do foster a really great community in your class.
Well, thank you.
You do. To piggyback off that question real quick, what's the hardest thing that you cook in your class, that you teach? Like souffles, perfect poached egg?
I think the hardest thing for students is timing. Going back to time, I hate to keep harping on the same thing, but trying to get food cooked so that it goes on the plate at the same time. So it could be a pasta dish. So like I didn't put my pasta down in the water early enough and my sauce is done. So that's kind of tricky. Or I cooked a steak and now my steak is done, but my potatoes are raw still. So I can't put it on the plate. So I think that's a really hard thing to do. And it's hard for adults to do that too. When you're cooking Thanksgiving dinner and the stuffing is burning in the oven, but the turkey's not done, it's those kinds of things that are tricky, and it comes with practice.
Yeah. So timing. You guys heard it here first, I guess. So here's my spiel that I give at the end of everything. If you're interested in hanging out with Miss Sikora for your junior and senior year, you will have to go to Potter, but fear not, we have culinary at all 3 of our centers. It does fill up quickly, so let your guidance counselor or whoever is responsible for making your schedule know that you want it in your schedule to make sure you have room. And that way you can hang out and learn how to cook really cool food in the culinary program. So if you have any questions, you can answer them real quick. But otherwise, Miss Sikora, that's our 30 minutes. Thanks for spending time with us and telling us
Thank
about the
you.
program.
Thanks for having me. Kaden, thanks for the questions. They were great.
They were great questions, right?
I know, he did a great job. I hope you're going to take culinary next year.
Yay. shameless recruitment. I love it.
Shameless plug. Yeah, correct.
Awesome.
Hi, Miss Gringo.
All right. Thanks, Miss Sikora.
All right, take care, guys.
All right. Bye-bye. So